Hey guys, and welcome back to episode 23 of MCEternal, the space race. And I noticed there's some things missing from our base. This guy, oh, he's still running. He's not actually chunk loaded anymore. These guys are, he's out of power. He's just sitting there. And that is because it's finally happened. I mean, not everything we need is up there, but the space station base is it's on its way. Now, still a work in progress. But yeah, we got some grass down so we don't fall off. I got a rainbow tree up here now, which is quite cool. And if we come out this way, we've got the beginnings of our base. And yeah, I've just been building. I haven't quite finished sealing off the roof yet. I don't know if I'm going to be able to put oxygen in this room because it's quite large, and I know there's kind of like a size limit to the size of the area you can fill with oxygen, so you don't need a spacesuit. And we're just using the oxygen out of this black hole tank. It's important to have oxygen. You don't want to end up in a death loop up in space. So we got our power set up. I don't know if I built the flux network. I can't remember. I tend to record in bulk, so it's been a while since I've actually recorded. Yeah, we got our flux network with some better flux storage. This guy sort of he charges our inventory as well, so he keeps this guy charged. And with all of our power that we got set up the other day, I've got glass here with our solar panels up there. If we go into our network statistics, we're currently using 229 RF a tick, and that's pretty much the suit. Yeah, we've expanded our applied energistics controllers and made some of the big cable. So this cable holds 32 channels. We're using 21. So yeah, this is just running off, and then we got our interfaces and everything. We got all our stuff here, and down here, it's very dark down here. That's why it's yellow. I've just got night vision on. Yeah, we've got our interfaces, and then we can just branch off and set up a whole bunch of stuff down here, like all the cables and pipes that would just make a mess being upstairs. And just been mining a bunch of sand, so we get a bit of glass coming along. And there's a really cool recipe to get clear glass. That is simply the glass beside each other makes stable glass. And then you can just turn that stable glass into clear stable glass. Which, yeah, I think it's a little bit nicer than having, like, over that side. That's probably a bit far away. But over this side, you've kind of got those streaks on the glass. Oh, this is all glass in here as well. I might put some, like, blocks in the corners at least. But yeah, I'm hoping to make this all kind of airtight and not need a spacesuit while we're up here. And for the plan today is to get some sustainable plant-based nuclear power going. I think I talked about this a while back. Yeah, we're going to use the garden cloche for immersive engineering to grow our uranium seeds once we make them. And then just I'm planning on, no, we're out of glass already. Planning on getting a few nuclear reactors going. So if you haven't played with nuclear craft before, highly recommend. It's a little bit tricky, but once you get the hang of it, it's not too bad, especially just your standard fission reactors. Fusion reactors are a bit more set up, but they're dead simple once they're going. They run on water. So yeah, radiation will be a problem. So I have been buying, and I need to keep paying myself 1 coin so that our coins show up in the shop. Hacks. Our anti-radiation, if I can spell. What is a radar gun used for? Source GPS. I think that's for like targeting missiles. Maybe we've got to play with that at some stage. Yeah, these anti-radiation strongboxes. I've been running semi recently, so I don't know if I'll get all the rewards. But we did. And just getting enough radiation scrubbers. I think you need, it's either 8 or 12. And that's enough to get rid of all the radiation in a chunk. So you need a bunch. I'll eventually set up the machinery for making these, but they are pretty involved. I also briefly looked at the warp controller, and actually, before we do that, we can do something that I think will make this space station look a lot cooler being inside it. If we look at advanced rocketry, there's a couple of machines you can use that affect the space station. Ah, here we go. Ah, here's our station gravity controller. I thought it was a single block. So we might want to make this. And we definitely want the orientation controller. This is the cool one, I think. It's just an aesthetic thing, although you can make it nighttime up here the entire time if you wanted. And then I think, what are we short? We're short a compass. Should be easy. And then, hey. Okay, didn't recognize the compass, but that's cool. We got our orientation controller. Now, I don't know where I want to set all this stuff up at this stage. Maybe here. This is kind of like our control room. This guy is cool. Now, I've got a couple of different axes, and if you set this all the way over this side, like your space station will constantly, it's like it's spinning. So let's just turn this one up. And you'll see it's like the whole thing is moving. Now, if we go over here and set our hotkey, because it seems to need reset each time. Not visual keybinds. I'm at a basic cooling system. Yeah, I think this goes all the time. Right, yeah, now our night vision is off. And yeah, so we got our planet up there. And you can see it's getting dark, it's getting dark. So yeah, you could end up having the planet up above you, which is an interesting choice. Probably not what I'd recommend. Probably not what I'd recommend. So we don't want that. Let's go back. I mean, that could be cool. And if we set this back to 0, he'll stay here. But this is nighttime, so we definitely don't want that. Let's turn up our Y axis. And this is moving in this direction. And it's just, we want it to be daytime. So that's pretty bright. Let's stop that. And if we set this all the way up here. Now I think that's a bit fast. So let's set it to just a little bit. And now it's like we're spinning, and it will constantly shift over time. Now there's another one, I'm pretty sure. The altitude controller. Because we can get further away from the planet, which I think that's when it starts to look really cool. And we're missing all sorts of stuff. Can we get another one of these? We can. A basic circuit plate. Ooh. We might have these somewhere. They might still be down on Earth. Here's all our circuits. And we'll leave this spacesuit and this Planet IG chip here. And now we have our altitude controller. This guy, you can just sit here. This makes us go further away. Yeah, let's go really fast. And look, that looks, I think, significantly better. Look, now we can actually see what looks like the islands of the planet. Now this is just a picture. Obviously it's not what any of the biomes actually look like, but it's still really, really cool. And it changes depending on which planet you're above. And we plan on visiting, whatever planets we can. I don't know how many there are. Speaking of that, how much titanium do we have? Not heaps. So now we need a bunch. Yeah, see, this is the problem with the warp controller that we'll need to sort. That's the wrong block of titanium for the multi-block. We might be able to chisel it. Oh. Oh, okay, so we can't. Alright, yeah. Oh dear. There, that's the one we want. This one works, yeah. So you've got this little arrow that pops up sometimes. Let's put that back on the single block. Yeah, so if you're at the point where you're making the warp multi-core, yeah, that's what you're going to have to do. You can just choose a different recipe. If there's multiple recipes that result from the same input, you can choose what you get out of it, which is really cool. Alright, so one of the things we are definitely going to need is power. And to do that, I want to make the garden close. So let's get away from all this stuff. Let's find out what we've got up here and what we don't. Hey, one of them. Right, we're missing the vacuum tube, so we need a engineer's workbench. That shouldn't be too bad. Hey, an engineer's workbench. And you're going to go here for now. Doesn't really fit with everything else, but that's cool. And to make a vacuum tube, we need our engineer's blueprints, crafting components. Let's see what we've got. So we need crafting components. That just needs different ingots. We might have all of them. We're missing paper. And we got water in space, and it's not frozen, so super realistic. I didn't quite do that properly, but that's cool. And we might need this many. So hey, we got our crafting components blueprint. And to make a vacuum tube, we need a nickel plate, copper wire, so we need a copper plate. Okay, so we need to set up a couple more machines. Yeah, I haven't ran any cables yet, and yeah, I will do that, but for now, just for now, I'm just pairing machines off these wireless flux points. Select our network, and hey, he's got power. So to get a vacuum tube, we need copper wire, so we need a copper plate and a nickel plate. A couple of copper wires. You can make it like a press to make these way more efficiently, but we got heaps of copper at the moment. So this needs a copper wire, a nickel plate, glass and redstone. And hey, vacuum tubes. Awesome. And that should be enough to make one of these. Cool. Alright, here we go. Now this guy's going to need a couple of things, and we still need to make uranium seeds too. Yeah, thorium seeds would be nice as well. Let's grab some. Enough just to make the seeds. We're going to have to pop back to the overworld. We hopefully have enough like supremium and stuff to make this. We might not, but my plan is we're going to have this guy set up in the corner. He's going to need water. Oh dear, that's space. Okay, alright. That's cool. We can have... Actually, I'm going to go get all the stuff we need to set all this stuff up, because otherwise you're just going to be watching me craft stuff. And we're never going to get anywhere. I'm going to have to edit heaps of stuff out, because I just want to show you making the nuclear craft stuff. So we're going to be making a basic nuclear craft reactor. So if I get the patterns for the stuff we want, you can look at the quests to find out the actual items you'll need, but I've done it a couple of times so I know what we need. We need a fission controller. We're going to need reactor casings. Probably going to want a moderator block. Maybe not for a start. We'll teach you the recipe anyway. And like these are sort of nested crafting different components. There's a bit of stuff we're going to have to do. Get our alley smelter set back up. A reactor cell, and we need coolers, and we're probably going to be wanting lapis coolers for a start, and that should be enough to get us started with just a real basic reactor. So I'll be back once I've set all this up, knock all the crafting recipes up, and we'll get the garden cloche and the uranium and thorium seeds going, and I'll show you how to set up sustainable nuclear power. Back in a moment. Okay, so just setting up a couple of machines to get this working. Got our thorium and uranium seeds. Thorium's actually only tier 4, which, you know, if you're struggling with essence, could be the way to go. Now, I don't want to have to craft all these alloys by hand, which I was going to do. And so I'm going to try and set up just some basic auto crafting, and I'm going to move this stuff. This isn't going to live here forever, but for now, just for now, this is going to live here. Now, if you check an interface on the top of the machine and connect it to your network, and it's been a little while since I've done this, so forgive me if I get it a little wrong before I start. Grab another interface, still with the stuff for that. We're going to start running out of resources soon. It's going to be a sad day. We connected this here. Now, I believe we can set up. So inputs, we want top as input, cool, and top as output, perfect. That's what we want, that's what we want. Because if I try and craft a fission controller, we've got the recipes for most of the stuff, but we're missing graphite dust, magnesium diboride, diboride alloy, and tough alloy. So we need to make these guys. So we need graphite dust, diboride alloy, and tough alloy. And you can make these in the Tinker's smeltery as well, and you can make some alright weapons out of them. Don't know if it's really worth it. I mean, the armor's kind of cool, but by the time you're making tough alloy, you've probably got access to diamonds. So, yeah. Alright, so graphite dust. That is easy. So we can teach the recipe for that. You need to chuck your... Well, we need some more patterns. We're going to need a bunch more patterns. We got the stuff for that? We do. Nice. And the sort of stuff we're getting into now, that's where applied energistics is really cool. So to make graphite dust, if we switch this to processing pattern, we can see that it comes from, we're going to use the manufacturing, pulverized coal. So we'll check that recipe in there. It says 1 pulverized coal makes 1 graphite dust. Actually, there's a better way to do this. Oh, I got pulverized coal. Nice. If we grab our coal, let's just process a little bit of this. And it's time for these. It's time for speed and energy upgrades, mate. That machine's so slow. Now we need to put this back on crafting pattern. Cool, and the only thing he's probably going to need to know how to make is a weighted pressure plate, which is simple. Energy upgrade now. This will be a little bit harder, but not too bad. And gold, yeah, there's plenty of gold on the moon. So that's not too much of an issue. And let's chuck them in here. We're going to have to make some more interfaces. Let's keep an eye on how much power this is using. So he's using 20. We had 1 upgrade. He's using 80. Using 180. That's probably, let's leave it at that for now. We're still not making a bunch of power yet. Actually, let's go check in our network. Network statistics. Yeah, so we're inputting 400. That's just because it's full. So yeah, we're still making enough to keep up with our current drain, which is nice. And this guy's just a bit faster. Now, this is all I need from this. Because we already had some pulverized coal. So the recipe we taught, or we're going to teach, we're trying to make graphite dust. Put this back on processing. Manufactory. And we want to say... Oh, we need some graphite dust first. Let's do this though. So we want... 16 pulverized coal. And we want to tell it that 16 pulverized coal makes 16 graphite dust. And this just means, you know, you're always going to have like some spare ones floating around, which is, I think, better. So we check this pattern in this interface. And now when we request, like, we should be able to request pulverized coal. Let's just make sure this works. 16 coal becomes 16 pulverized coal. And if we also chuck this in here, we should now have the option to make pulverized coal. Start. And look, he's got the items. And I was hoping they were going to get imported back. But they're not. And why? Oh dear, did I just void? I voided all the pulverized coal. That's cool. Okay, so I think I've struggled with these machines before. I think that's just, some machines will automatically import, but we can do that with this guy. We can automatically extract. And he's going to extract out, and that's going to fulfill the thing saying the recipe got finished, and we'll just chuck pulverized coal, because otherwise it's going to get confused and wonder why it didn't make all the things. And yeah, now we can make graphite dust, because it should, if it needs graphite dust, it knows it needs coal to make pulverized coal, and yeah, that's as easy as autocrafting is for like processing. So yeah, you can see why you're going to need all these channels. By the time you set up every single machine, you don't want to have to do by hand, which should be most of them. I think it's pretty cool to get all of it automated. Magnesium diboride alloy, and we'll say that this guy makes that. And now I think we should be able to make a fission controller. You can see there's a bit of crafting going on. He's made the ferroboron. Now he's combining with the lithium, getting us our tough alloy. We must have had enough like processed coal and stuff. Let's see how this is working. He's just waiting on the tough alloy to get made, so we can speed this up a little bit. And this is where I ran into problems before. Speeding it up, and it does stuff like this. Like tough alloy shouldn't go in that slot, but it did. If that happens, you need to put this in here, just so it recognizes that it made the craft and the items come back. If you just put it in your inventory or in your system, I think it'll still be waiting for this to finish. So it can be a little bit fiddly. But hey, we get our fission controller. If we look at our quests, I suspect we've like skipped a couple. I don't even have a quest for doing that. That's cool. We got our fission controller. And if I want to make, I'm just going to make a like 3x3 reactor, so that needs some quick maths. I'm definitely not about to open my calculator and work it out. I need 54 reactor casings for the size reactor I want to make, and we may not have the stuff for that. We do. We got all the stuff. There's a bit of processing to do. So we'll start that off, and yeah, he's just going to sit there and craft all the bits. And I guess now is probably a good time to set up our garden cloche. So I've got a water source set up down here. Just so we got access to water. And our garden cloche is going to go for now here. Alright, you're going to need a couple of things. You're going to need power. Now I should probably run some power cables, but I'm being lazy. Now I think power only goes in a certain way, so not there. Power can go in there. Cool. Nice, he's got power. Cool. And this is probably not enough flow duct. This is definitely not enough flow duct. I think water can go in here. Now we need a couple more, which I may have. And hey, this guy should have, he's got water. We can put dirt in there and there. He's got dirt. Cool, and you can put fertilizer in here to make him go a bit faster, but you don't need it also. So Let's start with uranium reactor or a thorium reactor. Let's start with uranium. And he's just going to slowly grow the seed. You can see it's working even without fertilizer. The fertilizer you need is, I think it's just bone meal, actually. I believe it's just bone meal. You see, finished. And we've ended up with some uranium essence. Cool. And he'll just, you know, he's got power. He's draining 8 RF a tick, so plenty of power. We've got infinite water. He's just going to continually make uranium essence, and that's actually a quest. So let's grab that. And then we need to turn this into uranium, which is easy. We can do that. We don't want to do that by hand. So we might as well set up the recipe for these. Now, I think there's a few different options you can use for this, but I am familiar with the RF Tools Crafter. And we can probably get away with a Crafter Tier 3. Let's just go with the basic one for now. And we're going to want the machine frame as well. Let's just teach it these recipes, because we might end up making a few of these. Alright, so we should be able to say, okay, we want to craft with this guy, and he's going to make, select recipe, give it the recipe. It's going to make uranium ingots. Apply. Now, he needs power as well. I probably want to run an actual power cable here. So you've got power, you've got power. Cool. Hopefully we can extract with our configurator. Okay, so you don't extract out of there. I think you extract out the top, actually. There we go, that's how that works. Okay, so we can disconnect this dude because he does nothing. And hey, he's going to, when he gets the stuff, he's crafting uranium ingots. Awesome. So, infinite uranium. This shouldn't be draining too much power, even when he's crafting. I don't think he's that hungry, but shouldn't matter. We're about to have infinite power. Now the next step in the nuclear fuel chain is a fuel reprocessor. No, it's not. Separator? Isotope separator. We need an isotope separator. And that's going to turn uranium, if we look at this thing, uranium into this guy and this guy. And then we could pipe this stuff back into this crafter. But I think we'll just have a next crafter, like the next stage. We'll just set it up in a line. I think that'll be cool. So let's just get these machines sorted. And there's just a couple of different things we need to know how to make this machine. We're very quickly running out of slots in our system. We have to expand it downstairs. One isotope separator coming up. He's done. Oh, and that was a quest. Nice. And then we might get another crafter. Again, you probably don't need to do all of this that I'm doing, but that's cool. And that should be all we need. So he's making uranium ingots. So we need our isotope separator. You're gonna pull out of you. Cool. Oh dear. And yeah, it's only going to extract whatever comes out of here. So yeah, you got to be careful with, if you've got multiple recipes in here, you might end up with the wrong thing coming in. And you're going to turn that stuff into some other materials, which we want to go into another crafter. So let's give you some power. Let's give you some power. And we could run this cable underground, but hey, let's just do this. Because that's not too messy. That's not too messy. It's not the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. And he's a little bit slow. So we could chuck a couple of speed upgrades in there, but we'll wait until we've got more power. I mean, we could grab a couple. Using 40 hour for tick. Yeah. I think this will be fast enough to keep up with what we need. And logistical transporter, because we need this to come to the crafter. I see is outputting, I just couldn't see it. And there's a couple of recipes we want in this dude, which is perfect because there's only 2 that we can make in here. These guys become this. And I think we can tell it. We'll put the result in the inventory instead of the output buffer. Result of the crafting operation will stay in the input buffer. If you put this on, this will go into here, which is what we want. When he gets enough, he'll make some of that uranium. Need one more. So I need to speed this guy up a little bit. Yeah, a little bit more. There we go. Lots of uranium now. Yeah, speed this guy up a little bit. And hey, we end up with uranium 235. Now to make the fuel we're going to use, we just want to make the basic, I believe it's LEU235. Yeah, which takes one of those guys and a bunch of these guys. Oh, we want that in a new recipe. Yeah, it's going to be weird, so let's do this. And it's going to make our LEU235 fuel. Apply that. And look, we've got one. And this is going to start, we're going to start generating radiation. And if we look at our chunk borders, I mean, this might be an issue, having it extracting from a machine that's on a border. But if we set up our reactors, or a couple of reactors inside this chunk, we can use all those radiation scrubbers. But we should be right for a while. So this guy's making our LEU235 fuel. Now it's time to set up our actual reactor. This might be where we start to run out of resources. Now, reactor cells. I'm going to show you how I work out this basic, I speak out the stuff, a basic reactor. You can, of course, download like pre-planned out ones online. That's definitely a good way to go. Definitely get you something more efficient. But I'm going to show you how you can just make a reactor and you can sort of play with it to increase the efficiency. Yeah, just a basic way of making your own reactors. So this dude's going to go, I reckon about here, maybe back one. Where's that chunk borders? If we put them there, yeah, we can fit the logistical pipe dude. There would be there, I believe. And we'll just set up our casings. If you've never made one of these reactors before, that's pretty cool. Now this is definitely not going to be the most efficient reactor you can make. But, I mean, we haven't got huge power draws yet. We're going to. Power is going to become an issue once we get our pretty much our ore generation sorted. Yeah, now you don't want to have casings in these side bits, so you pretty much got to make them like this. And actually, it's cooler to be able to see what's happening. So a bit of glass. You can just make the front of it glass, which I think is cooler. Nice. Now here's our reactor port, and this is, yeah, there's no cells, makes no heat and no power. Heat is the main thing you got to worry about with this guy. If you fill up this heat bar, he will melt down, which will cause a bit of radiation and destroy some blocks of your reactor, but it's not like a huge, huge explosion, so you don't have to worry about that. Radiation could be an issue, however. Let's get our logistical transporter. He's going to send fuel into the sky. It looked like he sent a couple, but there's only one in here. I must have sent two, and it's absorbed one to set the recipe. Cool, now it's fine to break this. It'll just stop the machine from running, but you don't lose the fuel. It just tells you that the casing is incomplete. So if we grab our cells, these are the things that burn the fuel. So like, this is perfectly valid. This will work. If we check a couple of casings, we'll see how much power this will make. This will make 840 RF a tick. Not a huge amount, but it's generating 600 heat a tick. That's the killer. We can chuck another reactor cell, like here. That's perfectly fine. If you've got connected reactor cells, it'll generate like lots more power, but lots more heat. Like 1200 RF a tick, but 950 heat a tick. So we have to get rid of this. You need this number to be 0 or negative. You can set up like a redstone comparator, I believe, of this guy. And as the heat rises, it outputs more of a redstone signal, so you can make like a loop of redstone to turn this guy off once it gets too hot. So you can have reactors running that make more heat than they get rid of, but then you've got the potential for a meltdown, which I don't want. I don't want to have to worry about it. So 1200 RF a tick, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. But we need to get rid of 950 heat a tick. So if we're making our coolers, I think lapis coolers, now each of these coolers has different rules for how they can be placed. Lapis coolers, if you look at them and you hold shift, must be adjacent to at least one reactor cell and one reactor casing. Now I like these guys because they're simple and they get rid of 120 heat a tick. Decent. Redstone's not a bad option, and it just has to be next to one reactor cell. So if we look at our lapis ones, not water, water's a little bit more difficult, but adjacent to at least one reactor cell and one reactor casing. Since these cells are in the middle, it essentially means we can just put lapis coolers on any surface of these cells. Like we can put one here, we can put one here, we can put one here, we can put them there and there, and that's what I'm going to do. So let's make a bunch of lapis coolers. Cooler, let's grab, can we get 10? We can. Nice. So yeah, anywhere that it's going to be touching one of these casings and one of these reactor cells is a valid place to put the block. Yeah, this wasn't enough. So we could fit 3 more. Let's look at what our heat's doing. Ah, look, minus 250 heat a tick. So I'm tempted to make another reactor cell and put it in the middle. Like put them there, and then we can put 4 coolers around them. So let's do that. Now let's grab our coolers. We're going to have them there, 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 and there. Now you can put coolers that aren't valid in the machine if you want, but it just means you won't get anything from them. Cool, 1500 RF a tick, and we're going to be getting rid of 330 heat a tick, so yeah, runs cold. Let's grab our flux network, adding energy to the flux network. Set it to main power, and we just need a lever to turn this guy on. And this is going to look dumb, but hey, we're now generating power. None of it's going into the system because we're not using it fast enough. But hey, we're generating 1560 RF a tick. And you know, you can add more cells, like we could add cells in these corners, and that would still be fine. You get more of a bonus if cells are touching other cells. We could make the reactor bigger, like expand it out, and add more cells and coolers. And that's how I go about making... Now this isn't an extremely efficient reactor. Now there is a cool cell that goes in... cool a cool cooler that only goes in these corners, and that is this Inderium. So it must be adjacent to exactly 3 reactor casings at exactly 1 vertex. Layman's terms, it's got to go in the corner of the reactor, like these empty spots. And it gets rid of 120 heat a tick. And generally it's pretty hard to fit something in these corners. Don't just chuck random fuels you make in here, because they all make different amounts of heat. So while your reactor might be fine with 235, because it only makes 50 heat a tick, if you chuck in this HEA242 generates 705 heat a tick, and that'll get multiplied like the same amount that this dude. Does it tell us how much he actually makes? It doesn't tell us how much we're actually making, but we're getting rid of 1600 heat a tick. So we're making roughly 1300 heat a tick from fuel that makes 50. So you can work out the maths there. And yeah, if you're chucking in a fuel that makes 700 heat a tick into the sky, yep, you're going to have a lot of heat to get rid of. So guys, I hope that's been reasonably interesting. If you're familiar with nuclear craft, possibly this is pretty simple stuff. Maybe you haven't had this setup before though, that's infinite power. You could just void the depleted fuel in like a trash can if you don't want to deal with it. But you're wasting a lot of potential power from the same resources that you're going to have anyway. But hey, this has been ClassicDuff. You've been watching the episode. Like and subscribe, and see you in the next one, where we might look at setting up the Void Ore Miner. Yeah, I think so. See you guys next time.